And they're using the same terror cells against Libya and Syria and against Russia again, while using them against us to take our liberties.
Yeah, they've been using and they've been partners with these people. Those people actually work for us. They have been working for us since 1980s, the big Afghan Soviet
And this is
war.
after the Russian thing, though. You're seeing stuff 96, and you said up to,
exactly.
And you said up to the day of 9/11. Tell us about those.
We built 300 madrasas, okay, with our money, our taxpayers' money. Congress would help the federal government, and this is the State Department and Pentagon, to funnel money to these Turkish construction companies. These are front companies, as these are the aid, the U.S. aid to to bring democracy to these states. When the money was being used, building madrasas, bringing Zawahiri several times into Azerbaijan. So for the FBI, it was a shock, because the FBI, they were not like the CIA. I mean, not the heads. The heads of FBI, they're part of the same police estate. But these agents for years have been calling for real investigations, but they were being shut down by the State Department and the CIA. This was our so-called diplomatic foreign relations. This was what we were doing. We were also doing it in certain regions of China. It's referred to as East.
By the way, stay there. Whistleblowers are protected under the Constitution when they're exposing criminal activity. Folks, you're hearing, I mean, she's breaking stuff down here that it, again, absolutely proves it. I mean, she saw the intercepts with bin Laden right up to 9/11 under CIA command. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're listening up. She had one of the highest security clearances, reading NSA intercepts, CIA, you name it. And she's working for the FBI, and from what she's saying, there's some good people in the FBI. We know the head of counterterrorism, O'Neill, quit and even told British papers they're working with al-Qaeda, they're going to stage something and use it to launch wars. Yeah, and a lot more. And then, of course, he died on 9/11 in the World Trade Center, if you can believe that. But going back to Sibel Edmonds and her new book we're going to be talking about, this is a short segment, long segment coming up. We're going to do a commercial-free, long interview with her on Friday on InfoWars Nightly News as well, and hopefully have her on video Skype. She's on phone today. So, Sibel, continuing, let's get to the nitty-gritty and how you did get the book published. But first, repeat, because you didn't break the gag order until a few years ago, and now you're going even further. And they've been persecuting people that expose them. Obviously, we know there's a whole NSA division that's leaked just to spy on government people that know the truth of 9/11. But tell folks the relationship with al-Qaeda, drug dealing, weapons, and the CIA, State Department. Break it down for folks.
Let me give you one very straightforward example. In mid-90s, okay, this is U.S. and NATO. They used the largest private Turkish airline, okay, that went into Caucasus and Central Asia. And this place, Central Asia and Caucasus, had mujahideen from all over the place. Saudi Arabia, Pakistan. Part of the group was actually Chechen. And they brought these mujahideen into Turkey. They gave them Turkish passports. They trained them militaristically for 3 to 6 months with Turkish passports. And these individuals, the same mujahideens, these are the people under Zawahiri, under bin Laden, they were with NATO planes. Again, Turkey is a NATO country. Were then transferred into Bosnia, back into Albania, Kosovo region. We were working the same thing. We were taking them actually into Romania. And they all held Turkish passports, okay? Well, these people were the people, as I said, we have been partnered with. And then 9/11 happens, and they come out and they say there is, this al-Qaeda, this brand that sounds pretty ferocious, al-Qaeda. And then there is this bin Laden, and these people have been, they hate us and the way we live. Well, I always tell people, Alex, terrorists, no matter from where, they cannot take away our freedom. They can't make a dent into our Constitution. Not a dent. The only power capable of taking away our liberties and destroying our Constitution is the government, our own government. You can have a terrorist either domestically or internationally blow up a bus, but can they blow up a Constitution? Well, that's what our government has been doing since 2001, 9/11. They have made Constitution irrelevant because Constitution today is some kind of a historic document.
Because we're just one more country.
Is gone.
We're just one more country that they're looting just like Afghanistan for the opium. And, of course, there's all these factions of different groups that want the opium. Of course, Al-Qaeda, Mujahideen was the faction that worked with the West. This was all a big joke for them to help knock out the other Taliban and people who had been shutting down opium production.
Absolutely. And have you ever heard anyone in the mainstream media or even the quasi-alternative media talking about this? The heroin and opium production is a no-no. It's a no-no. They won't touch that topic. Look at Afghan GDP. They don't even have a GDP, right? Well, their whole economy is based on this, and we are looking at hundreds of billions of dollars. Where is it going? They point out once in a while, Time magazine and those crap shooters, they say, look at those guys with shalwar, those bearded guys. They are the warlords who have all the opium. Those guys don't have hundreds of billions of dollars. Who are the ones who are getting these hundreds of billions of dollars? Who are the real players? I mean, you look at NATO and say, that's one arm of NATO nobody dares to expose. And it's been the case for so long. But you find one person, one reporter from the mainstream or the the Soros-funded quasi-alternative, and show one who dares touching this particular
No, it's
topic.
all a total hoax. We're about to go to break, long segment coming up, but get back into more of these communiques. What did you think as you're in there as an FBI translator reading this? You were somebody, with all these degrees and things that believed the official narrative of how the world works. What was going through your mind?
I was so naive. I thought if I were to go and tell the people in Congress, in the Senate Intelligence Committee, if I were to go to court, I was going to expose it, and we were going to have a bunch of high-level U.S. officials go to jail. I was that naive. I mean, I was almost stupid. And so I did go through these so-called channels, and with every channel, they shut me up further. They even invoked gag orders illegally, unconstitutionally on Congress via retroactive classification, and it took me 4 or 5 years to realize there is no system. The system has been broken. There's only one branch of government, and that is the police, the state government. One. There is no separation of powers. They have the federal court.
Stay there. We're going to be right back.
We're on the march.
My friends, again, people say, hey, it's fun to hate Muslims. It's fun to think they're hiding under every table. Okay, but the government, even if you believe that, is bringing in record numbers to the West, okay? I don't think they're bad people. I'm not buying that propaganda. My point is that if you know about British intelligence radicalizing the Wahhabists and using them to create Saudi Arabia, if you know about every time these Arabic-speaking nations that are always been highly advanced in their city-state areas, inventing mathematics, you name it, tries to build up a civilization on par with the West, they just send in the jihadis. They've been doing it for 100 years. And we're seeing it right now, again, in the Balkans. We're seeing it right now. People say, well, you're for the Serbs. No, I'm not for the Serbs. I'm not for the Muslims. I'm for whoever the globalists are attacking. And they'll play Christians off against Muslims. Then they'll play Muslims, off against the Russians. They'll play... This just goes on and on. And think about what a master skeleton key Al-Qaeda is. They create it because the real Taliban had cut opium production down to nothing. They blow up the World Trade Centers, blame it on Al-Qaeda, create this narrative, set up some hijackers that were really taking part in drills. We know that. They just set them up. At the topless bars, drinking liquor, all of it. Mossad, FBI following them, all part of the drill. They set up guys. Now it's going to be harder if people understand this. Just like 7/7, it's the same story over and over again. And again, it's criminal elements, globalists that want to bring in the national security state, shut down free speech, bankrupt the country, have the military-industrial complex gobble up the U.S. as they've done the rest of the world. And then meanwhile, the average soldier going off to die thinks they're fighting Al-Qaeda as the globalists race to replace them with robots and drones. Soon you won't even be in the equation. Your death benefits are stolen. You're treated like crud. Record suicides. We had corrupt good old boys 50 years ago, but they didn't have troops serve 7-8 tours. And then they say, you're the new enemy. Now they're flipping from Al-Qaeda to domestic groups. They're getting ready to stage terror attacks and blame it on constitutionalists. You think they hate independent Arab countries or Muslim nations, they really hated independent America. They hate anybody that doesn't want to get rid of the family and take the eugenics and be part of this. We're going to go back to Sibel Edmonds here in just a moment. The point is that when you see something of this magnitude, and she's on record, she testified to Congress. It's on record. I've confirmed from countless sources what she's saying. It's all come out now. The troops started going, I don't want to grow the opium, so they just hide it in plain view on the news. Yeah, we grow it. It's patriotic. And the troops think, well, it must not be bad. It's on Fox and CNN, but we grow the opium and load it on C-130s. When they took over Afghanistan, they put conscripts in the front lines to be killed as theater. The Taliban and Al-Qaeda were just waiting to be put on C-130s and flown to Pakistan and paid in gold bars, BBC reported, to start the next phase. Al-Qaeda's made up. And now you have the TSA taking over. Now you have total federalization, the drones. And they're saying, oh, yeah, the new threat is patriots. I told you that was coming. They always get rid of the rights on an unpopular minority. They're following an exact program. Now, going back to Sibel Edmonds, I want to try to give you the floor now because I can hear, I've heard you a lot of times on radio. You're very, very focused and calm. I can tell you're emotional today because I must have gotten you fired up. Tell us, again, more about what your book covers. If they were sitting on it for a year threatening people, how did you finally get it published? Tell folks where they can get it. But then go through, for people that don't know, the type of communiques you read, what you saw, because when you finally broke your gag order, they didn't persecute you like they've done others because they don't want to bring attention to this. You've got a lot of courage. Because they've killed others that have tried to do what you're doing. I want you to speak about that if you've had threats or things like that. But I want you, Sibel Edmonds, to the biggest whistleblower in 9/11, maybe in U.S. history. I mean, she makes the Pentagon Papers look like a joke. And we've had the Pentagon Papers guy on, and he said 9/11 was an inside job, and then said, change that, I'm getting heat, reverse that, I want to go back, but that's a side issue. Sibel, again, tell us the rest of the meat, because you said 2 years ago when you broke your gag order that you were able to see the communiques with Al-Qaeda being commanded by the CIA right up to 9/11. Tell us what you saw.
Well, Alex, it's very hard to give sound bites because one of the things that media does, they never provide people with context. And that's why I wanted to write this book and I wanted to put it out. Give people the context, the detail. Give them the whole thing. That's when they start getting the picture. Because when it comes in little bylines or little, small headlines here and there, it's in bits and pieces. And this is why for over a year, government has been, right now, I'm under this threat. These are official letters. It's on my website, in my attorney's, on my attorney's website. They said, I'm going to face prosecution if I publish this book. Okay? I said, I am going to do it under my First Amendment, and I'm going to stand up for my First Amendment. And the big publishers, the mega corporate publishers, they didn't want to touch it. They said they didn't want to get on the wrong side of the FBI. I said, fine, I will publish it myself. I went and I hired my own editors, my own, people to help me with the cover of the book. Everything in this book, I did it. You know why? Because those publishers, unless it is kosher by the government and considered kosher, a lot of CIA whistleblower books are coming out. They are not whistleblower books. They are actually sanctioned by the agency.
They're whitewashes to act like it's a whistleblower to sell false narratives because people only believe the cognitive dissonance when it poses as a whistleblower, and Cass Sunstein at the White House admits that's part of a strategic program.
Absolutely, Alex. Absolutely. Anyone who says otherwise, I will line up people. My organization has 150 national security whistleblowers, especially with the CIA. The CIA doesn't want your book to get out. It won't come out. Guaranteed. Or you're going to be jailed, okay? And then they're going to do what they did with Colonel Schaefer. They're going to reenact Fahrenheit 451. They're going to take these books. They're going to burn them. That's what we are doing. That's what our government has been doing. So I challenging that, standing up for my country.
All right, I want to stop you right there because this is so amazing. We're going to have an in-depth hour-plus interview tomorrow on the Nightly News, commercial-free, but I always start a story and never finish it. I started the interview by saying I lost 70+% of my stations. I went through hell for exposing 9/11 as an inside job, death threats, you name it, but nothing compared to you. They're threatening you with prison, public